they all work so hard and everyone's so passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Welcome to Island Influencers, where we share stories of successful business owners, experienced professionals, entrepreneurs and community leaders based or with influence in the Isle of Man. This podcast is brought to you by Thornton Chartered Financial Planners, because great financial planning has the power to change your life. Now here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner Sharon Sutton.
Welcome to this week's Island Influencers. My guests this week need little introduction. They are husband and wife team Pippa and Miles Pettit of Noa Bakehouse. I hope you enjoy listening to how they've come to set up their fabulous bakery business and hear all about their path to fulfilment of a great work-life balance.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having us.
Oh, no, not at all. It's my pleasure. And I mean, it's Noa's got to be one of the most iconic businesses on the Isle of Man, I would think. How long have you been going now?
Oh, we moved back in 2012 because we left London when the Olympics were on.
So it was 2013.
2013 we opened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole bakery, it's so well known in the island and so well loved, I think. It's a real pleasure to have you on.
We love doing it, so it's lovely to hear that.
Great. Well, I wonder if you don't mind, we'll start with just finding out all about you. I mean, you mentioned you moved over in 2012. I think you've got more Manx roots than that, don't you?
Yeah, I think Pippa's yours.
I do. I'm a seventh generation.
Right.
Born and bred.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a back over.
Back over.
Right.
Yeah, no. So I went to secondary school on the island.
Okay.
And
For a few years.
yeah, and then we, to QE2, and then we moved to London together in our 20s, and then came back here to start a family in our 30s.
Okay. So you met at school. You met at QE2. Was this
after school?
After school.
Just after at 18.
Oh, lovely. Right. So did you both grow up in the west of the island then?
No.
You're from the south?
I'm from Port Erin, and Miles was in Douglas, actually, weren't you? Yeah.
Okay. So how did you end up going to QE2? All the way out west.
I'm quite badly dyslexic, and it was deemed that QE2 was the best school at the time to deal with my needs. So,
okay. So it's about late 90s. A lot's changed since then. I think every school's pretty good, but back in the 90s, they were leading the way on dyslexia support, weren't they?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So when you did that, what sort of inspired you to go off to London? What sort of courses did you have in mind? Future careers? What were you aiming for back then? Do you remember?
Well, I got involved in the Manx Multimedia Centre, which is a fantastic thing run by the government. And through there, I got to work on films on the island and in the UK. Mm-hmm. And then I started learning about visual effects, and I missed going to university, so I started working on a show reel together, and I managed to blag my way into an MA in London.
Gosh.
And it was perfect because me and Pippa had decided.
He was very talented, not just blagging.
No. Anyway, we decided we wanted to live in London and experience what it was like in a big city. So,
and you were from London.
Yeah, I was from London.
Yeah.
So Pippa went there first and found us a place to live, and
got a job. Yeah,
got a job, and I moved down there and bummed off Pippa whilst I went to university.
So, what were you doing, Pippa? To support your woman boyfriend, yeah.
And that was mainly just, you go around the recruiters.
Yeah.
That was where the opportunity came. It was great. It was commission based. It's all that sort of stuff that coming from the Isle of Man, that big kind of culture change. It was great. And we lived in East London near Brick Lane.
Okay.
Really vibrant. Martha's University was there. Yeah. I was working in the city, so it was great. Okay. But it was all quite opportunistic, really. I think most things we do, even the bakery, was a bit of a, I was on maternity leave, let's give it a go. And, whilst my job was held open, we've always been quite opportunistic.
Sometimes if you don't take these opportunities, what would happen? Yeah,
you got 9 months.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So how did you get into it? I mean, I remember when it first opened in Fort Street, and it's quite an eclectic crew, really, making all this.
Yeah.
Is that a good word?
Yeah, most of them are still there, actually.
Yeah.
But,
I mean it in a good way, by the way.
You were working
super
long hours.
I was working in the visual effects industry, and I had planned to move back to the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And I realised that at that time, remote working wasn't really a thing. And the role that I had, I wasn't doing a job anymore. I was more managing people. So I would have to still be in London or in another part of the world that did that type of work.
Yes.
And the Isle of Man wasn't really doing it then. So I started to drop a day a week at work and to look at new opportunities and new business plans that we could do back on the Isle of Man. And we went past a really great bakery called Noa Bakehouse in London Fields, and I didn't really understand what they were doing and how they were making bread. So I booked onto a one-day course with them and then asked the owner whether or not I could just volunteer there. Now, it wasn't with the idea of doing a bakery. I was busy working on other ideas, but those went, and I spent all my time making bread, and it kind of took over my life.
What was it that you really enjoyed about it?
A year into not doing anything apart from making bread, that actually I could do this for a living and I could do it back on the island.
So what obstacles did you have to overcome in order to do? I mean, I saw you had there's a really good case study actually about you guys on the Department for Enterprises website about how you did this. And what struck me very much was how you'd said that, as part of this process to get the grants, you said that it was really important that they made you put together a business plan, and you realised how hard that was. But I mean, what obstacles did you have to overcome to put together that business plan?
Well, I think it's stopping to think stuff through. I mean, it's all well and good saying, we're going to run a bakery in the Isle of Man. It's going to be amazing. We're going to sell bread and everyone's going to turn up. But,
But the reality was no one really knew sourdough at first, did they? That was like the first obstacle was there wasn't a market for sourdough.
Yeah, so when
it's
we
very
were
American, isn't it? It was.
Making bread and sending it around to people were, it's lovely, but you wouldn't really make a sandwich with it. So the cafe side of the bakery started. And, so I think you're always going to have obstacles, but I think...
But that was research too. You find that at research stage, and that's where business planning really helps as well.
Yeah, and it's learning the cash flow management and all the other sides of business. I had been a producer before, so I had run jobs, and I've run whether or not a job was going over or not, and dealing with teams and making sure that they got to the end goal. But actually, running a business is slightly different, and running a cash flow of a business is slightly different because there's so many obstacles that you aren't aware of. And having James from the Small Business Startup Scheme, he was really great because he didn't come to us. He had nothing to gain really from Noa. He kind of gave us a support by wanting to help us and see us do well. So he would challenge us at every hurdle. So we'd give him a cash flow and he'd be like, have you thought about this, this, and this, and this? And go, okay. And we'd spend the whole time arguing with him, which I loved because of, when you run a business and you end up having to make all these decisions, just us. Yeah. And we were learning. So to have somebody else that you can challenge or to challenge you, that he was there to challenge us in the right ways. And I think that's kind of sometimes important, not to think you know best and to automatically assume that your way is the best way.
Yeah, that's such an important point.
Done what Noa's done is we didn't listen to the whole team around us. It wasn't just us that made Noa. It was everyone that worked for us, with us, and supported us along the way. We're all open enough to say, do you think we should do it like this, or we could do it better if we did it like that? And being open to those, surrounding yourself with better people than you are, and being open to their ideas and running with their ideas as much as running with your ideas. I guess it's about knowing which ones the good ideas are.
That's really great. No, that's such an important point. It's very easy to surround yourself with people who agree with everything you say, but you don't actually, as you say, you don't learn anything like that.
No.
Challenging.
Yeah. And I think running a business is learning because it's always changing and adapting.
Yeah.
I think we know how to run Noa 5 years ago, but we're still learning how to run Noa now, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
always on that path, isn't it?
Important. Yeah, that so is. And where's the name Noa come from? Why
it's
Noa?
Actually, Noa.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time, though, did we?
Well, like the soup.
So in Manx Gaelic, it means fresh and new.
Oh.
Yes, but actually, obviously, we call it Noa, and so does everyone else. So the brand is Noa, but at its roots, it's Noa Bakehouse.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Not as catchy.
Yeah, no, it's great. I like Noa. It's like a cool Noa without the H, isn't it? I suppose.
That's it.
Yes.
And lots of people call Miles Noa as well, and he replies to it.
It's easier that way.
Say so. Yeah. So I mean, so you took the decision a while ago, I saw, to make Fort Street not the cafe as well, but also to go to the market hall with the bike style. And I'm just wondering how that came about and how you found it since. It's quite different to have two premises, not difficult necessarily,
but we were on top of each other, weren't we? You know, we used to run events, the cafe, the bakery, and it got to the point where we were kind of, certainly in the cafe, we were over trading 3 days a week, so it was busier than we could cope with, and so that had more room to grow and to change and adapt. And equally, the bakery, Miles was working crazy hours to work around the cafe and the event. So it just got to the point where there was no premises that would be big enough. No. We'd have to separate the two.
I think as lovely as it was, and I absolutely loved it when they were both together, what we really wanted to do is that, we make sourdough bread, and that's at a premium price point. But for us, real bread should be available to everyone. And really, we went on this journey by growing the bakery to try and make a way that real bread became, a price point that we could hit everyone in the marketplace. And that's kind of really why we decided to grow that bakery and push it forward in the way that we have.
Yeah.
And it's about keeping our values, about not using any preservatives or emulsifiers or anything like that. Just doing very basic, good quality food and making sure that it's available to as much people as possible.
Yeah, I noticed you've done a few new lines as well lately. Big fan of your croissants, by the way. I think they're amazing. Treat on a Saturday morning after the gym.
Oh, good.
So how have you found, you say you're working all the hours, have you found the work-life balance? Because you've got a couple of children, haven't you?
A day off yesterday.
Great.
No, we're getting there. I don't know. Some weeks are better than other weeks, and I think you just got to take it. If we didn't love what we do, it'd be awful. But we do, and our kids love it as well. I mean, I was working on Saturday. I ended up with 2 shopkeepers. They were, an 8 and a 6-year-old was desperate.
Packing the bread.
Desperate to serve every single customer. And they could have gone off with you and gone off and done lovely stuff. But no, they just wanted to be around and be part of it. So we're very blessed with girls that are very understanding and can also entertain themselves very well. But
it is a lifestyle choice. If we'd stayed in London doing the jobs we were doing, we would have seen our children at the weekend, and you think one day's running around, doing errands. That's being a family one day a week, whereas actually we fit it around the girls. So, we do have short days that then make it up in the evening. It might be 7 days a week, but it's shorter days and it fits completely around them. It is a lifestyle choice.
We both see each see the kids every day.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate for that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Good. Thanks for sharing all that. Lovely. So, how has it been for you during COVID-19? I mean, what have you changed?
That's tough.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, what did you learn from that?
I think it's scary, isn't it? Because you work so hard to build a business that you want to build and get it to a point. And we were on this path that was going really well, but then obviously something like in a world event like that happens, and it's very scary to suddenly see what you've done being put on hold or taken away, and then all of a sudden you're responsible for 60 members of staff that you still need to support and make sure that they're going to do okay. And that's worrying. But it wasn't just worrying for us, it was worrying for everybody, everywhere, And I think, what we were very fortunate is that we're on the Isle of Man, and that we got up and running a lot quicker than most. That we have such a loyal customer base that they kept us going. They bought those pastries and bought those donuts, bought that bread, bought that coffee.
And the order sizes, they weren't just buying for them. They were buying way too much to support us, which was great.
It was lovely. We kept on hearing stories about people that drove around and handed our products out to different people as a way. And for us, actually, the pastry department went through the roof, and the donut department was in overdrive. And it was, you're suddenly going, come on, we've got a different issue here. We've got a bottleneck issue that instead of doing what we do in a week, we're now doing it in 3 hours. And, you sort of, over COVID, we challenged ourselves. We ran into these different issues that the marketplace was just changing constantly. And we were scrambling to adapt to the ever-changing marketplace to try and make sure that we as a business got through this on the other side, and also to make sure that no matter what happened to our teams, we could always supply bread to the Isle of Man. So we isolated all the teams, and we had everyone, so no one, different teams weren't in the building at the same time, and there was a cleaner coming down to clean everything in between the different teams, because if we thought if one team went down, that would be all of them. But if we had isolated teams, we could continue production throughout the whole process.
And we redeployed the cafe team into the bakery.
Yes.
Which was great.
Yeah.
So it gave extra resource.
That sounds to me like you kept everybody.
Real team bonding.
Yeah.
Real team bonding as well. And upskilling. So lots of positive things came from it too, I think.
So it's made you stronger then, presumably.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I think the thing is the whole team did come together, didn't it? And from having separated the business apart, to bring everyone together in a time of need as well, we all felt stronger from it. And I think that's the thing. It's we didn't realise the impact of splitting a business in two had, but actually now there's such a crossover again. It's great.
That's great. It sounds a really positive outcome of what was a significant challenge for everyone.
Yeah.
So I take it did you keep all your staff and
absolutely stayed, yeah. Everyone was kept on, I think. So
I think one person chose not to from their personal circumstances, and they wanted, to take the salary support on Mira, to stay at home because they had dependents, but everyone else wanted to, work through.
Congratulations! I mean, that's a great accolade to you both that you did that.
Well, it's to them, really. Yeah. It was like
no one ever said thanks to the business owners. Yeah, good. Okay, so I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I ask this when I meet people in my role as a financial planner. But what's your earliest memory of money?
Of money?
I'm terrible with money.
What's your first memory? Is it?
I spend it. I love spending money. So I've never had it long enough not to spend it. So.
How was money?
We need financial planning.
All right. Well, we can do that in another conversation.
I do remember working really hard on my grandma's allotment for the vegetable show in the village, only to be awarded with, I think, we won first prize and a couple of things, but after a whole summer holidays worth of graft and dealing with elephant poo on the allotment and chicken poo and everything else, to be given 220p's at the end. I felt very hard done by.
Yeah, so didn't go into agriculture then.
I love doing it. It's just I thought of all the riches I'd be able to spend that money on, and all the things I'd buy, and my mind went to places. But to realise that wasn't the case, I had to find a different sort of positive from it. Whereas I now love gardening, so
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And you learnt loads from how to grow vegetables in the last.
Yes, exactly.
Quite handy lately.
My first memory would be: do you remember the Isle of Man Bank Max the Cat money boxes?
I do remember them. They brought
in the
80s. They brought them out in the 80s, and they relaunched them again in the early noughties with the
Oh, did they?
Island Games. Do you remember the Island Games? Max Cat was the logo of the NatWest Island Games.
Oh, that was wonderful. Well, I remember you had to save up a certain amount to get the next money box, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which I kind of think now that was genius. I'd really love that for our kids to have an aim, and it's that reward, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all electronic now, aren't
clever.
they? Yes, we use a Go Henry card in our house with you can assign specific chores and values per week with a pocket money allowance as well. So have you emptied the dishwasher?
That's a good idea.
Have you made your bed? Have you hung your towel up? Have you done your homework? I'll send you a link.
And does it go onto a card?
It does. And then when they go around Douglas, you can track them around Douglas, see where they're spending money and what money, and you can set limits as well. Yeah. Not for now, but they're a bit young for that. But cool. So, I mean, all the things you've done in your life so far, what's given you the most fulfillment from a business perspective and from a personal one? You can tell me both if you like.
I mean, our business and personal life are so intertwined, aren't they?
Yeah.
I feel quite fulfilled, if you know what I mean, but I don't think there's any one thing. I think it's moments, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we do get those pinch me moments, certainly post-COVID, probably more so than ever. When you look at the life that we've been living over the last 12 weeks to what, say, our old colleagues in the UK, there's so much to be grateful for. I think if one thing comes out of COVID, hopefully it is that, we don't take this for granted, time to be together with people, to have a great team and a thriving business, all of those things are, those are the moments, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And I think that's it. It's just taking time out. There's not one thing, it could just be catching your kids playing in the garden and going, oh, aren't they brilliant? Or
haven't we done well?
Yeah. Or if you do a really good bake or the bread looks really good that day. So actually, in life, it's really important to stop and go, oh, yeah, actually, that's not too bad. Yeah. And it's hard because you don't do it. You always want to beat yourself up or do the next thing.
Probably that's what drives you to success, isn't it? To keep on achieving. Yeah, no, great, thank you. So for any aspiring or even existing business owners or entrepreneurs, what would be your number one business tip? You've already given loads of great tips.
I don't know. You see, it's a different
team.
One. I would say love what you do. And I know that it's a bit cliche and a bit naff, but actually it's really hard work and it's really long hours. And whatever business that you do is going to demand that. So if you're really into numbers, that's great. Be really into numbers and own it. But find a thing that you love and find a way to make money out of it, because you do spend a long time at work. And if you don't enjoy it, you're never going to be happy. And ultimately, if you love what you do is better for it. And you are.
I think it's infectious as well, isn't it? So as soon as you stop employing people, that passion, that sort of motivates them at the same time. We've all had those bosses who resent coming into work, at some stage in your life, that actually if you love what you do as a business owner or an entrepreneur, people will feed off that as well. It gives the business, dynamic and energy.
Brilliant. What do you do to relax, the pair of you? How do you keep your life in balance when you're not making bread?
I do pottery.
Pottery, okay.
Yeah, I go to clay club once a week.
Great.
And I like to go for a bike ride. I'm not very good at it, and I curse up every single hill on the Isle of Man. But
you didn't succumb to an e-bike.
See me, give me a wide berth.
So, are you a mountain biker or a road biker?
A road biker, but a very slow one. Slow and consistent.
Slow and consistent. That's okay. It's fine that you get out. It's the same thing, isn't it, really? And you haven't succumbed to being, there's nothing wrong with the e-bikes. The e-bikes, they've revolutionised the cycling traffic on the island.
I'm up for one.
Yeah. No, I need to conquer what I'm doing first. I'm going to be a top road cyclist one day. I don't know when. But
the over 80s.
But at the moment, it's great exercise. I find it a great way to relax. And halfway through a bike ride or halfway through a mountain, I often have to stop, make a phone call to someone going, I've had this idea. If we did this and this and this, I think this is going to be great. And I find it you get those moments of, as soon as you're, it's my mindfulness, I think. That and shaping bread.
Works for me. Sounds great. And what have you made in pottery and clay club? What have you made so far, Pippa?
I mainly do pots and things. I must admit, most things go in the bin. I'm very critical, so not much makes it home, but I love it.
Yeah. Teapots? Made any big teapots?
I have not made a teapot. That's a good idea for next week.
Oh, I was out at a friend's house the other night and they brought out this teapot. You must have needed to go to the gym in order to be able to use it, I think, because it's just so big. Amazing clay teapot. It's just...
there you go.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. So what do you think are the best things about living in the Isle of Man?
Oh, I'd say community. There's a huge sense of community that I just, we've never found anywhere else. We've tried mostly lots of cities, as well as living in London. We tried New York, we tried LA. But, from London, all we were pining for is the Isle of Man, and that, sense of, I don't know, that sense of community and building something. It's very inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Absolutely stunning. The reason why I like bike rides is it's stunning. You cycle along just looking at some great landscape, and before you know it, it's...
What's your favourite view of the island then? From
You know what? I love going around the round table, because my parents used to live in Aracy and Pippa's parents live in Port Erin, and that little route we moved, when we first moved back, we moved 6 times in between the two. So, I don't know, it's just that route. I think every time I drove it, I would think, well, it's
gorgeous, isn't it, that part of the island?
What a commune.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Have you been on the mountain bike down that track through Aracy?
No, I'm too scared on mountain bikes.
I did it once.
I'd love to. No, I need to. I'm one of those people that I have to work really hard up the hills because I put my brakes on too much going down them.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's self-preservation, I think.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I've been thinking that if Pippa gets herself a new bike, I'll get myself a really nice mountain bike. And then...
Well, you can look at them every day, can't you, if you're in Noa? Goodness me, there's some bling on display there, isn't there, cycling bling?
I know, I'm not allowed into the market hall that often, because I end up buying stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yes, brilliant. So what would you say then are the main challenges that the Isle of Man faces?
The size of the population is a big one, certainly for hospitality and manufacturing. The market's only so big, and I think that's a huge challenge, because in a city, for example, E5 Bakehouse, where Miles trained, and they would have different people visiting every week, whereas we have to get the same people every week to come through the door in order to be profitable. So I think that's the big challenge, is offering your customers a new but consistent experience. So you've got to be constantly evolving. We can't stop in time. And also, innovating and keeping up, because naturally, the next new thing comes along and you've got to compete with that. Yeah. So I think that's the challenge here, is the size of the population means you have to innovate and challenge what you're doing all of the time. But at the same time, we love new ideas. So for us, that's great. Yeah. But it is a challenge.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's it. How do you get another 20,000 people to come to the Isle of Man? And how does the Isle of Man support another 20,000 people? But, there's loads of reasons to live here. So it just needs to be pushed out there a little bit more. Yeah.
What solutions and opportunities could you see then?
I don't know. I know there's a lot of people that choose to come back when they want to start a family. So I think if we start advertising to the right demographic or the right, place, a lot of people over the years, they've all decided this is a good place to bring up their kids. And once they brought up their kids, they love the island and they stay.
Yeah, and they bring their parents over too. Yeah.
It's luring those people over here, because those people are going to be innovators and be dynamic to push the island forward. And I think that's a market that maybe we're not advertising enough to, and we should do more.
And actually, I think now post-COVID, so many more people can work from home, have more flexible working.
Yeah.
And actually being half an hour away from the major cities in the UK, we're actually really well positioned, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, especially from what you said before about having the right sort of business to come here. You've done this. You've created a sort of loyal tribe, haven't you, of people who are passionate about what you have and are loyal to stay with you along that journey. There must be other kind of avenues that people can do too, but it's a difficult one. I'm glad it's me asking the questions. So what have you got planned next? I mean, leading onto that sort of thing, you know, I
think our next big challenge is you know, with our growth over the last year, you know, both the bakery and the cafe have kind of doubled until COVID hit.
Yeah.
So our challenge is really offering career pathways for our people. You know, what we found quite early on is that people don't want jobs, they want careers. So we've had to build in training and opportunities. So that's our next challenge, is how we make that next leap in order to retain our talent, but also recognise who our talent is. So talent management, career pathways. And
with that, it means that we get to do a load more exciting stuff. So we've got loads of great ideas of things Noa's doing next. And I think that's it.
Exciting.
Actually, to take our team with us and give more opportunities to them to run with it is great fun. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm quite excited about some of the things we've got going on in the next 6 months, let alone the next 3 years. So, yeah.
I am. Gosh, it sounds great. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one. So, I mean, just coming to the end of our interview today, but there's a couple of questions I normally ask people, just sort of quick questions, just to kind of finish off, really. But any books that you've read recently or sources of inspiration you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
I've been reading Dan Barber, The Third Plate, and I can't get enough of it. I keep buying it for people and handing it to them as presents.
What's that? Dan Barber, The Third Plate?
Yeah, it's all about looking at food in a different way and looking at sustainability within farming in a different way. So it's fascinating, and I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So all the team are listening to the audio book at the moment.
Or the shake bread and knead bread. Yeah. What about you, Pippa? Have you been reading anything other than Roald Dahl and the kids and Harry Potter?
The Princess Diaries. No. So what am I thinking? I like podcasts and things as well. So I don't know if you know Fiona Fitzpatrick. Brand Heroes. So she's moved over here with her husband, right. And she interviews foodie entrepreneurs, but it's like all the Innocent team and the Chocolonely, and I find it's kind of like insurgent brands. So it's quite relatable for us because we kind of came in as an insurgent brand. But I find that quite inspiring and challenging, and I kind of like those. I'm like short and sweet, whereas Miles will listen to something that's 100 hours long. I'm more a 20 minutes.
It's when you're doing night bakes, you've got the time. So
yes.
I get to self-indulge. I'm not having to listen to Roald Dahl when I'm baking at night or read Roald Dahl. So it allows you to do, I think that's the joy about an audiobook. You can do 2 things at once.
Yes. Although the liberating thing about reading is you can only do one thing at once.
I know. Yeah. You've got to do that too.
Yeah, one day.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. So where can people go to learn all about you, Noa Bakehouse, and
Well, soon on our website.
Yes, you've got a Facebook page, haven't you? And I've seen you on Instagram, I think, and YouTube videos. I saw.
Yeah, a couple of YouTube on the coffee stuff we did over COVID. Yeah.
Just come down and find us.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah, no, I've seen. All right, well, that's great. I mean, is there anything else particularly that you wanted to say today?
I don't think there is.
No, I don't think so. No, it's been lovely.
Yeah. Oh, great. I've really enjoyed both of you, actually. It's lovely to find out all about you and, what you've got coming up. Very exciting. like I said,
It will be. I hope so.
no, hats off to you. You know,
It has to work. First.
you've been. I think you've really, really great disruptors coming in using local supplies of grain and things like that. Keep Laxey flour mill open for another half a day, a week, I think.
That's it.
Ramsey Bakery is the other half.
Yeah, we're actually a really small customer.
Well, it's surprising how much capacity they've got and it isn't used, isn't it? So,
yeah. But it's been really lovely. I mean, working with businesses like Laxey Mill and Starvey Farm and all of these Rad and all of these local businesses and Robinsons and all of these people, it's great because they all work so hard and everyone's so passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a pleasure. I mean, the reason why our bread tastes the way it tastes is because of the flour and the Manx water.
It's very different to what if you baked it in London, or we used to use a Canadian flour. Very different tasting. It's amazing.
Yeah, but I love that. And I love those journeys of finding that out. And I think, you know, we've managed to work with the mill to get them to put in the stones for the stone ground.
Yeah.
So now all our flour is stone ground.
Oh, lovely.
So you get the whole kernel, so you get all of the vitamins and you get everything out.
Yeah.
So as other processes, you can end up with nothing at the end of it. You know, so the mill's done that first rye flour, so they started growing rye.
Yeah, that's good. That's almost gluten-free, that one, isn't it? Rye, is that?
It is.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
But it's got so much benefits and so much flavour.
Yeah, it's my favourite, the rye.
Great. You know, we chop rye flour and everything. You know, don't tell anyone, but most recipes now have rye flour in it because it just makes everything taste great.
It is a great flour, yeah. Are you ever planning to go down the gluten-free with anything? I mean, because there's more and more options, aren't there?
Would love to. So we looked at it about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were thinking about starting a gluten-free kitchen in Laxey Pavilion when we had everything there. But actually, it's really hard because and I think recipes are getting better, but when we were looking into it, when you look at what's in a gluten-free loaf, it's not very good.
No, it isn't, is it?
No. And I couldn't make a loaf
taste good
with
good things in.
And it just, and the bakery had so much flour,
but not least without it being like a stone. You use nut flours, but they tend to be quite heavy, don't they?
Exactly. Good. That's it, and that's the challenge. And I think, you know what, people are finding techniques and are really working on it. I just couldn't afford to give that research time to it at that point, and it was a case of I couldn't do something that didn't have our values to it just because it was gluten free.
Yeah.
So we decided just to pause it for now, and maybe look at it again in the future. Also, our focus has been working on how to work with the mill more, how to work with growers more, and how to do that side of it. And, you know, unfortunately, to do that, it's about really embracing gluten, but also treating, you know, a lot of people might have allergies to gluten by the way that the gluten is processed, but by changing the way that it's processed and the way that we make it, actually they find that what they thought might have been an allergy isn't an allergy, it's just an intolerance. And it's because of the process, not the actual wheat itself.
Well, thank you very much for sharing all of that.
No, thank you.
That's good. Well, listen, thank you so much, both of you, for coming on Island Influencers this week. It's been a pleasure having you. And I look forward to coming and having some more of your produce in due course, and look forward to seeing you soon.
That's great.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you inviting us today.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Island Influencers from Thornton Chartered Financial Planners. To find out more and for useful links, visit thorntonfs.com/podcasts.